Dante's discussion.
Welcome back to another edition of Dante's Discussion Answers. That's right, where I take your answers and I put them in this video, roll it all up in one fantastic video, and we discuss it amongst ourselves. That's right. The question I have for you, of course, is from Dark Souls 3, and I bring it to you, and this is one that I'm probably going to have to revisit because as more and more weapons come out, which I think is only one more DLC, unfortunately, but as more and more weapons come out, you'll see why in a second. Well, anyway, the question is, what weapon when fighting in regular PvP gives you the most problems? So this is a weapon that either could be dependent on your particular weapon, or it's just something that you've always had a problem with. Doesn't matter what weapon you use. Either way, we have a bunch of answers. Let's just get into it. I mean, I posted this question because a lot of times through different varying skill sets and through different varying skills and time and so on, you get better against certain weapons, and certain weapons sort of stay the same, or maybe you get worse in a sense because other people get better at. And it's one thing that happened to me where early on in the game, because of how ridiculous hyper armor is and basically their sort of cheap way of trying to make bigger, slower weapons viable, I had a problem with hyper armor because of my playstyle in Dark Souls 2 was so aggressive with almost every weapon I could think of that in Dark Souls 3, when I tried to be aggressive, I just lost a hyper armor consistently. It was bad. Every time I try to attack somebody first, or if they did a roll and did that attack, because the hyper armor frames on ultra great swords and great swords start so early that I just would get crushed a lot of times. And it was like, it was weird because I was losing the players who didn't necessarily play good, if you will, but they sort of relied on the hyper armor and damage through, you know, against me based on the weapon I was using, which was usually a straight sword. So it's interesting how things have changed, how I've gotten much better at the sort of waiting for them or spacing out a little bit better, or not attacking at any chance I can get, because hitting them first means nothing when hyper armor is a thing. And I just had a lot to learn through the beginning. Now, you know, I'd say definitely there are certain weapons that I have a problem with. Really, it's more not weapons, but it's more latency. Latency's kind of screwing me up, especially with weapons like Washing Pole, where their running attack has a super distance, or something like Karthus, where that running attack is super quick and has a super distance, or just you can't ever hit them first, because even when you swing, if they swing, it's going to be a trade, you're going to lose, and you know, so on. So as time progresses, different things have happened. People have gotten better and or worse at certain weapons and other weapon types, and buffs and nerfs and patches and whatnot. But I'm here to see what you think from Fextra Life and from YouTube. So let's just see, let's get to it, and let's get your answers. And I'm excited because some of these are interesting and other ones are very lackluster and didn't put any thought into it. Put in the comments below if you can tell me which one that is, huh? First up, we have on YouTube Jerry Gakonin, or Gokonin, talking about decent weapons. Number one, a washing pole in the hands of a fully wait and see tribe player. Number two, long spears in the hands of a fully wait and see tribe player. 3, Hollow Slayer Greatsword if you can't outrange the opponent. 4, Yorms if used together with fast weapon, i.e. Dark Sword. This is interesting. Now, it seems like they have the most problem against people who are wait and see. And I bet you they just have problems with wait and see tribe players anyway. It doesn't matter if they use Washing Pole or a long spear. They could probably use a straight sword. They could probably use a great sword. It's sort of that play style, it seems, messes up Jerry more than the weapon itself. But when paired with a powerful weapon, it's probably much worse. That's what I'm assuming. And that goes for, I'm sure, a lot of people, and really even me. If somebody waits too long and I can't ever get close to them, and then they only attack when it's 100% the right time, like, a lot of people will lose that way. I don't care who you are. And Hollow Slayer Greatsword if you can't outrange them. And I'm assuming that also means outdamage them depending on the weapon you have. And a lot of weapons don't outrange it. So most spears you'll probably get hit by that attack. There are a few great swords that outrange it, like the Fume. Really, probably halberds maybe if you can hyper armor through it. Really, you just want to outdamage a Hollow Slayer Greatsword user, or you want to do quick strikes and definitely pick and choose where and when you're gonna attack. As far as Yorms, and a fast weapon. So Yorms, this was a combo I've seen, which when I had a sword and shield, it didn't, or I'm sorry, yeah, a sword and board, it didn't really affect me as much, but the startup times on the hyper armor of the Yorms is ridiculous, and the ability for your opponent to switch it up between Yorms and Dark Sword, really, that's what is the hardest part about it, is trying to understand what they're going to go for next, because if they do the Yorms attack and you try to attack them, they're going to hyper armor through it. But if they do the great Dark Sword attack, that also has a ridiculous range, and it's decently powerful. So I can definitely see why that's a problem for a lot of people, maybe not being able to decipher what your opponent's going to do next. But interesting list there, interesting list. I thought Yorms would be higher than Hollow Slayer, but again, it's that hyper armor that's probably getting you most of the time, and the damage. Whereas the Washing Pole and Long Spear, I doubt it really even matters what the weapon is. It's just that wait and see style is pretty rough. Next up, we have on Factor Life, Scythander says, oddly enough, I find my issues against whips, great swords, and straight swords. Interesting whips. Now, great swords, you can understand how the hyper armor can get you when it's two-handed and they're decently powerful. And straight swords, they're really quick, and obviously the R2 on most of the straight swords is kind of ridiculous. I mean, the range on that is disgusting, honestly. It's gross. It should be fixed, as a lot of things in the game. But probably would be fixed with just servers, but they won't do that. They're cheap. How much money do you need from software? Either way, whips, interesting. Now, what's even more interesting is they said whips. They didn't say witches locks. They just said whips. And I think there's only 4, maybe technically 5. I think there's 4 whips. Really? What are you doing? Okay, I mean, hey, if that's a problem for you, I don't understand it. I understand the witches locks weapon art can be weird. The range is amazing, and if you're close, it stuns you and it can do massive damage. That I understand a little bit more, but as far as just whips in general, I don't get it. I don't understand. Next up, we have 98 Beowulf on YouTube. I have problems using the Wolf Knight Greatsword, surprisingly, mostly because of the damage, and since it's +9 and I'm using it on my quality build, but I also have a big problem fighting lances. See, this was interesting because they said a weapon they have problems using, and then a weapon they have a problem fighting against. Now, the weapon they have a problem using is interesting, and why is it +9? What are you doing? I don't understand. Have some friends, tell them to give you items, and just trade and reload your save, or figure out a way. What are you doing? And as far as problems against lances, and alright, here's the thing. Really? What the hell? That's confusing. I believe they're called pikes in this game, but having a problem with lances, the only thing I could figure that why you would have a problem with lances is you see them so little. You see it so little that maybe you're not used to fighting. I don't know. Maybe you just don't know how to fight them because they're... Who the hell? Who uses it? I don't even remember the last time I've even seen a lance anybody use it. I've seen like daggers and stuff before I've seen lances. That's interesting. I want to know more about that. That's weird to me. Extra Life's Trusty Skeleton says, for me, it would probably have to be the turtle build, sword, S-stock, and board. The simple use of a medium shield with 100% block and somewhat good stability makes this one of the strongest setups in the game. I do not disagree. I have seen very few people utilize this well. I feel like when people use this, they're really defensive, but being super defensive doesn't work all the time. I've seen it used a little bit better with an S-stock or with a rapier, just because of the quickness of that and the sort of range, I guess. It's quicker than a straight sword, and that could be obviously a big issue. And obviously the 100% block and medium shield stability is crazy. I mean, what is it? 69 stability on the Black Knight shield, and you're able to use your weapon art. That's crazy, man. That is broken. That is broken. I mean, the medium shields are broken. Great shields are broken. They're all broken, actually. Every one of them is broken, or they should at least fix the fact that if you use a kick, that's a 100% breaking your guard. But then that would take away from the weapon skill, so it's, I don't know. It's crazy. Yeah, I agree that that is a really... I've only faced one person who was super shield, super shield turtler. I've only faced one person. as far as someone using a sword and board, obviously I've faced many people, but generally these people either they block too much or they attack too much or they don't have the right combo. I don't know. I haven't seen many people, if really at all, utilize it well. But maybe that's just me. Maybe because I'm just too aggressive and they don't have a chance to breathe. I don't know what the case is. I don't know why it is, but I haven't seen many. But yeah, I can definitely see that being a problem for a lot of people. YouTube's Andrew Powell says, for me, since I basically or typically carry multiple weapons on my builds, I don't have significant problems with any single weapon. With that being said, good straight sword users give me the most trouble, but the scariest combo for me is the straight sword and medium shield, not even the cestus or parry shield. People who offhand a parrying tool typically parry a lot, so it's easier to predict. This is not true for those who wield a medium shield. However, they typically excel at spacing as well. Even worse, the straight sword and medium shield combo coupled with a katana as a secondary weapon is just simply godly. I would seriously argue this build is the best build in the game. I can't necessarily disagree. I'd still say a wait and see Karthus user is just one of the, if not the most brutal build. And a really good Black Knight Glaive user. I think those are some of the top builds. Personally, and obviously it all depends on your gameplay, but like wait and see. I think an aggressive, I actually think an aggressive Black Knight Glaive user and a wait and see Karthus user, I think those are one of the two tops. And I do agree that the sword and board of the straight sword and even, a secondary running attack sort of bait and switch type deal of the katana can be pretty brutal if you know how to use it. So I definitely can't disagree that's definitely up there in top 5 builds for me, I would definitely say. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I haven't seen many people utilize it well, but that could just be my playstyle sort of countering theirs. I don't know. Extra Life's Anunnakis says the worst is by far a Lothric sword weapon art spammer, usually rocking a less than 30% rolling bonanza build, chugging blue Estus like beer and pew-pewing the entire match. Urgh, can't stand them. Now in the category of what weapon is harder to beat when used by a good opponent, I would say both straight sword and shield combo and stance katanas are the hardest to deal with. This is interesting, and we're starting to see a sort of pattern here, obviously. But that's interesting that they find really annoying the weapon art spammers rocking the less than 30% rolling bonanza. That's cool. I don't see many of those. I wish I would see more of them. I wish I'd see more variety. To be honest, lately I've been seeing I've been seeing bad weapons a lot of people using, which is confusing. I wish I'd see what these guys are seeing. I don't know where they're seeing it. Is this an arena or something? I don't know. And on the other one, when someone is good at straight sword and shield combo, again, man, I gotta say, maybe that's what I would use on my quote unquote try hard build. Would be a sword and board, just my Lothric Knight and either Lothric shield or Black Knight shield. But usually I use the Lothric because it just has that added bonus of parrying, even though its stability is lower. But stance katanas, this is what I find interesting. So we're talking about two-handed. Well, I guess you don't have the two-handed if it's, but why wouldn't you? Either way, using the stance katanas, I'm assuming that's for a lot of roll punishes, doing the R1 weapon art. That's interesting to me. I like that. That's with the washing pole, the distance on that is crazy. But you got to get your timings down. That's the thing, Anunnakis. Get your timings down, or take a shield and then they're just null and void garbage. Shield just destroys katanas. YouTube's Wishy-Washy says, gotta go with Onakiri Ubadop Beeps. The dumb weapon art is one of the most annoying things to deal with in the unembered arena. You get stunned by it once and you're dead in one combo. The leap even has hyper armor for some reason, not even counting it combined with lag plus latency or lag/latency. Man, it's funny. This weapon early on, when I didn't understand weapons, right? This weapon used to give me a problem. And, it still hits me every now and then with the combo because I try to be aggressive. And I think they even nerfed it slightly. And it is crazy it has hyper armor because of how much damage potential it has, especially with the bleed. But it doesn't give me a problem anymore. It's funny because this game has made me play like a bitch now. Now I have to play like a bitch. If I see somebody with an ultra great sword or a great hammer or a great axe, whatever, I have to stay back and I have to wait for him because hyper armor and usually my weapon never does as much damage. It's annoying. This game has made me play slower. It's like it makes me do that. And even though I still try to be aggressive and then I get punished for it every time, I still try to be aggressive. It's bringing me to the dark side of wait and see. And it's so annoying. And that's basically what this weapon brings out. That's what it brings out for me. That's what it brings out for everybody. Clearly, you can't go into somebody. And it's weird, too, because I've faced many people using this. And it's weird that 90% of them has the same exact style of play. They'll wait for you to come a little bit closer because obviously you have to be close to somebody to hit them with a weapon. They do the weapon art. Either they stun you or they don't. And then they continue to hit even if you don't get stunned. Like, it's ridiculous. You just got to stay back. You got to stay back. You got to understand, oh, I think they're going to do it then. You keep that slight distance so that you don't get stunned on the first jump. Because if you get stunned on the first jump, it's over, right? So don't get stunned on the first jump. Keep your distance. Wait it out for a second because honestly, what is the rush in the beginning? It sucks. It does suck. I understand it. But, I mean, spacing. That's the key with this weapon. Spacing, slight patience. I mean, that's all that's to it. And strike when you can strike. As soon as they're about to land, get in there and hit. I R1 basically when they're midway from falling down. I do my R1 about right there. They don't hit the ground yet, so that even if they do their L1 or whatever else they're going to do, R1, they can't hit you because you already hit them, and they don't have hyper armor at that moment, and you can, you know, get your few hits in. So, I mean, that's just the way I play it. I don't know. Depends on your weapon, obviously. If you have a shield, that thing is trash, so I just block or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Extra Life's Pop Rocky 7 says, I would have to say people using a washing pole and all I'm assuming use is running R1. I guess some straight swords will roll catch me. Glaives are just weird and unpredictable sometimes. I think the reason for this is because I use the claymore a lot and rarely use fast weapons like curved swords or katanas. So based on what this guy's saying is, or person, girl, whatever, is that because they basically use slower weapons, certain other weapons are tougher to go against, like a washing pole R1. And I face these people where they keep super distance. Actually, a great player in PvP, his name is Dark Soul 52, whatever numbers. I was using Karthus in some tournament, and that's basically all he did was the spamming the running R1. But you know, if that is the game plan that works against the Karthus, and he beat me, by the way, that worked. You know, he beat me. He was able to just get his chip damage in here and there and here and there and here and there, and it worked. It's a tactic I've seen a few people do. It's all about timing. It's all about spacing. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, if you have a sword, that fight's gonna take. Or I'm sorry, if you have a shield, that fight's gonna take forever. Again, you know, it's a how much can you change if you're using a claymore? Basically, it's almost like parrying in Dark Souls 2. If you're using a claymore, you basically have to guess when they are going to do a running attack. And as they're running, you need to strike so you get the hyper armor. Not as they're doing an attack, because you'll be too slow. You'll be hit, and then either they'll roll away or you'll get stunned. So you had to do it before they actually attack. Swing so that you get the hyper armor and you hit them twice. It sucks. It's hard to do, but if you can get the timing down, you can win. And as far as straight swords, yeah, roll catching. Sometimes the straight swords distance and range is disgusting, and glaives are interesting. Glaives are weird. I mean, you're talking about halberds, but you know we had the Black Knight glaive, which the damage is crazy on that because if you get the R1, then you get the L2. And then sometimes you can even get the R1. Like, the combos are absurd, and it does, like, half your life. It's awesome, but, man, it is rough. I can definitely understand that one. YouTube's JS Pumpkin King says, with the nerf to both Karthus and Follower Saber, so far I haven't got any real problem in PvP about weapons. If anything, I think it's just any quick-step daggers or Thrall Axe with the Karthus Blood Ring. Other than that, well, I guess none. That's all. Yeah, I guess at the moment I'm not in the mood to write another book. Yes, JS Pumpkin King likes to write a lot, which I appreciate. I'm fine with it. I'm a little bit shocked, though, that I mean, even I don't. What is the nerf on the Karthus and follower saber? I don't know. I honestly like because I don't really check the patch notes. I'm not like seething and foaming from the mouth. Oh, patch notes. It got. I don't know. I just play because I like playing. But although I will complain a lot. Either way, I'm shocked because they're still great weapons. Although I will say the reduction in Karthus users has been crazy. I've seen like no one use it. And I've seen like a few people use follower saber, so maybe they got nerfed to bits. I don't even know. Either way, quick step daggers I've never had a problem with. Thrall axes are interesting because they actually do a lot of damage. And as far as Karthus Blood Ring, yeah, I haven't seen one of those users in a while, so it's tough for me to really say. These days, couple that with a decent player, I don't know, maybe it is disgusting, but a lot of times you just spam. If you can out spam them, you can kill them. So that's what I do if they get close. If they get close, obviously it depends on your weapon, but you spam them or you try to really get the timings right. I mean, that's one cool thing about the Blood Ring is you can sort of practice your timings, because if you can get the timing on the Blood Ring, you can hit anybody. Am I right? And that's what I always try to do. And people got surprised. I'd seen the people with the Goddards and the Blood Ring only doing like roll spamming type garbage. A lot of these people were surprised. I would get messages saying, wow, how the hell did you hit me? Because I understand how timings work. If the connection is okay, I got the timing down. That's just all it's doing. It's all about learning process and understanding the game. But yeah, I don't know. It's still difficult though, because it's not like you're not gonna hit him every time. But Thrall Axe, especially dark buffed, I've seen it, and it can get disgusting, the damage. And it has a strange range, as I like to call it. Extra Life's Eldritch Imagination says anything with long, wide, lag hitboxes. All right, what do we got? Washing pole, weapon art, R1, or is it the R? Wait, which one does the parries? The R2? I don't know. I haven't used many katanas, as you can probably tell. That one has a crazy range. Probably the weapon skill of the Gundir's glaive or Gundir's halberd. R2 of most straight swords is pretty disgusting. Karthus, anything. Running R1 of washing pole, and probably what is it? The gargoyle flame, the dragon slayer spear. Those running R1s are pretty intense. What else is there? That's what I can think of right now. Oh, actually, some axes actually have a crazy range or crazy hitbox. And yeah, I mean, that's about the most I could think of right now. I'm sure I'm missing a few. You can put that in the comments below. What else has some crazy hitboxes? But as far as I've seen, that is probably a pretty decent list to start off with. YouTube's Jose says, that's stash, bro. Delicious. Thank you. And used to have trouble with the great swords till offhand crossbow saved my life. Now I'd say, well, it depends on the player, to be honest, but I can't think of it. Interesting. Crossbow to counter a great sword. So I'm assuming this is like you're getting your chip damage in, keeping your distance when they swing, boom, crossbow hit or something like that. That's what I'm guessing. Sure. That's annoying to play though. I played somebody who did the fire surge or whatever at me, and it would do like, I don't know, maybe like 50 damage each surge. They hit me like 50 times or something with it and stayed back, and they won the fight, sure, because I was using a slower weapon and could never really catch up to them. But damn, that sucks, right? I mean, I don't know. I just don't think that's fun. That's pretty annoying to deal with. But hey, if that's sort of the only way you can deal with it, I don't know. I guess go with it. Why not, right? YouTube's Dark Knight the Boss says, best YouTuber in the world. I don't care, you are a boss on any game. I don't watch any other YouTuber. Nice vid. 2 thumbs up. Thank you. Put it in the comments below if you believe this. I still think this guy's a troll. They're commenting on a lot of videos, and I feel like I'm getting trolled by, I don't know if it's someone I know, or I don't understand. I appreciate it. If it's somehow genuine, maybe you want to see a doctor. I'm confused. I mean, although I will say this mustache is pretty good. Haha. Kareem Messari says the weapon that gives me the most trouble or the weapon class are ultra great swords because I usually roll into someone or behind to punish, but the tracking and the second swing just 4 or 3 shot me. In conclusion, F Black Knight ultra great sword. Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder if you have problems with Black Knight Great Axe as well, because it's got like uh, a weird hitbox and also a weird attack. It's just kind of weird and different than a lot of others. And when you get hit by it, you're gonna feel it. Like you said, 4, 3 shot. You know, yeah, I can definitely see why you have some certain problems. Fume Knight is one of those where they do the swing and then they lift up swing, but it also can hit behind them, so it sort of saves them from the backstab. A lot of times that misses if you're too close, and also you can probably get the backstab first, or maybe take the hit and get the backstab, so it sort of is worth it. But if you're moving too slowly, or you think you might get hit, I mean, it's all about timings. I mean, the thing is so slow that you should be able to know when they're going to attack, because it's so slow, you can see it. So really just be slightly more patient, and it should be no problem. YouTube's Crippling Depression says, that one weapon. Joey Garg says, this time around there really isn't one weapon like the Warp Sword, but certain weapons coupled with lag are really difficult to fight. I guess I'd probably lose to the Gargoyle Flame and the Dragon Slayer Spear more than I should. Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of people used to say that the Warp Sword or Chaos Blade or, was it Loy's Great Sword or Sun Sword? I think those were like, I mean, I would say even S-Stock would be put in there. A lot of people use Chaos Rapier too. I mean, as far as Dark Souls too. I never saw a weapon that I was like, damn it, they're using this weapon. And never, not in Dark Souls 2. Maybe just because I played it too much, but I can definitely see why you'd have a problem with certain weapons if you didn't have a similarly skilled weapon. So I mean, for instance, like, oh, actually, Black Flamestone that might be, man, depending on how much poise you had. And I always use story. Okay, I just love Dark Souls 2. Either we're talking about Dark Souls 3. Shut up. All right, Gargoyle Flame. Now that's interesting. I actually meant to mention this before. Gargoyle Flame, it just has superior range. That's really what saves that weapon. Really, really incredible range. Awesome range. And a good user can do like backstep, run attacks. They can run attack. And really, it's a lot of run attacks because it's really quick and the range is awesome on it. As far as other than that, it's pretty easy to counter, I think. If you can ever get close to him, if you have a fast weapon, you should be able to win that fight. If you have a really slow weapon, it is hard just because of the speed and the range of that weapon. As far as the Dragon Slayer Spear, I actually think the Dragon Slayer Spear might be underrated for a lot of people. This thing has hyper armor. Because it has hyper armor and almost acts more like a halberd, this is formidable. And I believe the running attack is a poke, so it's got like the best of both worlds. It's got the hyper armor, and it has the running attack, and you can self buff it with the weapon art. That I think is an underutilized weapon. Really good weapon for most weapons, actually. It's really good. I mean, it can combat a Karthus because of the hyper armor, and it can combat, you know, lower weapons because it's got the range, and it's just really good. It really is good. So I definitely understand if you have a problem with that one, because a good user is tough to beat. Next up, we have Dodge 52. I don't really have a problem with any particular weapon, but my biggest complaint and issue in PvP has to be the Hornet Ring. On my first playthrough, when I picked this ring up, I verbally assaulted my TV asking, why is this ring coming back? I know this isn't the answer you were looking for, but I just hate this ring. I don't know how many times I get lag parried or parry spammed until they land it one time and then boom, one-shotted. That's simple, not dueling. P.S. I also hated it in Dark Souls 1. You know, I think in the beginning I went back and forth because parrying was much easier in the beginning, because when you parry spammed, it was like twice as fast or something ridiculous. The refresh rate of the Cestus parrying was just like ridiculous. So it was easier early on. I think they fixed that a little bit. But again, if you know someone's gonna parry, or you even get an inkling someone might parry, it is pretty easy to get around it. I would say in arena, the Hornet Ring is dumb because you're already on embered health, so really it is one shot in arena. In regular PvP play, embered PvP play, it isn't one shot, but you are in pretty bad shape. But again, you shouldn't have got parried. If you get backstabbed by some trash and they have the Hornet Ring on, that's a different story. I think maybe they should only allow it for riposts, like parries, and maybe take it away for backstabs. That is just me, only because depending on what weapon you are and how lag and stuff like that works, backstabs can be easy to get, and I think that's a little bit corny, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. As always, on YouTube, Inept Dark Lighter says, Waldo has handlebars? Nice, man. Haas! Oh, man, Inept. I'm glad you're still around. I'm glad you're still alive, man. I know you've been busy, but I'm glad you're still around giving constructed answers for everybody. Yes. Extra Life Salt Lake Atrocity. All right, this is a long one. Get ready, get set, let's do this. For me, it depends entirely on what build I'm using. The only thing I think that I have issues against with all my builds are Great Magic Shield Turtles, because I strictly never menu swap for the sake of maintaining variety among my 10 characters. Incredible. With the presumption that the player using that A is on point with their blocking, and B knows how to flawlessly dodge and avoid dual charms. For my Quills Chaos Blade character, any kind of shield turtle build usually gives this build a little trouble, but only if they're absolutely on point with it. This is probably my most immaculate build right now. I like that. That is pretty interesting. My Black Knight Shield Lothric Sword character, Carthage Curved Sword, even Saber, is pretty easy to outspace by comparison, but the Carthage Curved Sword, I feel like I have to predict the number of hits they'll dish out in advance in order to whiff punish them. This build does have a backup Gargoyle Spear that helps outspace Carthage Curved Sword, though. My Yorm's Millwood Axe. Okay. Anyone that plays 100% purely reactive is hard to land hits against. Yeah, I would say. My Pyromancy character, Sorcerer character, and Black Knight Greatsword character, I don't consider any of these three characters remotely competitive, because it isn't hard to for even myself to dodge spells and ultras all day long if I had to. So these characters obviously have trouble with any player that will never get hit by sluggish, overly telegraphed attacks. In non-1v1 arena, they all fare pretty well, as there is pretty much a guaranteed to be at least one player who has no clue how to dodge this crap. I like that they have all these builds and all these sort of things that you have a problem for. I gotta give you props. All my remaining characters only really have any trouble with Great Magic Shield Turtles. Aside, seems like this would be a relevant topic to discuss the rock, paper, scissors meta, or at least out experience with it. All right, let's see what you have to say. I do find this interesting that you're putting this out here, because I think it is quite funny. All right, let's see. Opponent, they're going to do opponent and then counter. So what if you saw your opponent and you're like, how do I counter this? This is how they're saying you should do it. All right, so their opponent using straight sword, thrusting sword, turtle. You can use Karthus or follower saber, especially deep infused. Deep infused, which is interesting. I would figure bleed, but I mean, getting that chip damage in, okay, sure. Great Magic Shield Turtle, deep infused Karthus Curved Sword, follow saber, Karthus Rouge, and dual charms. Anything beyond this? Okay. Karthus Curved Sword, follower saber, any two-handed great sword, and at least 13 plus poise. Captain Crow Quills. All right, we got Captain Crow Quills, any two-handed great sword, and at least 13 poise. I actually don't agree with that. I think a good Crow Quill user, you can get in there, get your chip shots in, and I don't think that's a good counter. I think that's a counter to a bad Crow Quill user. Someone who's going to try to use their hyper armor and so on. So I don't agree with that one. Washing Pole, any two-handed great sword, and at least 13 plus poise. Again, I actually think Shield. Shield just destroys a Washing Pole, straight up. Shield and any slightly fast weapon. Gargoyle spear or any spear, any two-handed greatsword, and at least 13 poise. Yeah, some people can outspace you though with the range. Depends on what you're using. Gargoyle spear, Avalon arbalist. Sure, I haven't used that, so I can't say the effectiveness of that. Fast weapon, 30% roller, any two-handed greatsword, and at least 13 poise. I want to see who you're facing here because I feel like I would do a better job using that against. I don't know. Anyways, fast weapon, 30% roller against katana, or 30% roller katana, spear buff, running attacks. I can see that, but if they have a shield, I don't know. Although if they're under 30%, they probably don't. I could see that definitely being a problem, especially if they're trying to run away, get their stamina back. Okay, all right. Havel Slayer monster, Avalon arbalist. All right. Havel Slayer monster, katana, spear buff, running attacks. Okay, sure. Cat ring, tumble healer. All right, this is. I don't know what the hell this is. Carthage curved sword, follow saber, katana, spear, running attack, and a 6-foot leash attached to, attaching you to them. Seriously, just don't give them more than 6 feet of space. I won't animate my character until you ask for a whiff punish. Fake out katana, spear, running attacks, followed up by the real deal. Now they're talking about the wait and see players, and yeah, that's freaking annoying. Casters having a body temperature somewhere roughly in the 90s. I will say I don't agree with that. I feel like the casters maybe you faced weren't that great. I faced good casters, people who can adapt to a situation. So, first of all, I've seen players who now when I fight casters, I'm always aggressive, always aggressive. But I've been punished for the aggressiveness on people who understand that people are going to be aggressive against a lot of these people because obviously the more distance, the more gap, they're going to keep shooting. What are you going to do? Just sit there and wait all day? Well, hopefully not. But I've been punished by that, whatever, the dark magic explosion thing. And that is devastating. Holy crap. And that actually has quite a bit of range. Quite a bit more range than you think. So I can definitely see a good caster beating even a decent player. It just, you have to play right. I mean, it's one of those things where if you mess up as a caster, it's probably half your life. So if you don't mess up, you have a chance, is what I'm saying. I would still bet on the other person, depending on what they use. If they're using a great sword or anything slower, I think the caster is going to win more than not. If it's slower than that, caster has a chance, but I mean they got to be on point the whole time because if they mess up, that's it. That's it. But I've seen the spammer kind. I've seen the kind that punish you if you get close. I've seen ones that mix up both, and it depends on what your character is versus what their character is trying to do. I've been punished thinking they were one way because they were spamming this, and then when I got close, they switched it. And I don't know. It's interesting. Maybe I'm too aggressive. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's why I lost some of them. But I don't know. I can see that. And then, of course, the last one you have, great hammers. Memes. You are correct. That is actually the best defense against a great hammer. It's just a meme. Great hammers are a joke. It's disgusting. It's sad. I hate it. From Software, what the hell are you doing? Oh man, they are the worst. They are the worst. I hate them so badly. Last but not least, but yet again, they commented. Jose says lag is the worst weapon. And I think, you know what? I think that's actually true. And here's the thing that's interesting. All right, let's say you have two players, right? Two players, same skill, right? Same exact skill. They don't even have to have the same weapon. Same skill, same weapon. Maybe one is using Karthus, one is using Sword and Board. You figure same skill, they understand the weapon, they understand the matchup. Who's going to win? Is anyone technically favored in that matchup? I would say not really. I mean, whoever makes more mistakes loses. I mean, if you have the same skill, a lot of weapons, if you know how to play them right, you can combat other ones and so on. But then if there's lag, it throws everything off. And if you're unable to understand the lag, or understand the latency, really. It's not lag, it's more latency. If you're trying to be pin perfect, that can ruin you. One slip up, and that's enough damage that makes you just fall behind, and then you're trying to play catch up, and then it doesn't happen. Trade for trade, but it doesn't. That's the thing, man. Latency has ruined this game so hard. Latency, also, hyper armor, that's my opinion. I do want to do a video on that, but I've been busy lately. There's so many things I wish I could fix. I can't. Latency, but I appreciate everyone who posted here. I appreciate it. seeing what people thought or people think they have a problem against. Whips? That guy with the whips? What the hell? And then, I saw some weapons I definitely thought I would see. I didn't see curved swords as much as I thought I'd see. And that was a surprise to me. I really thought I was going to see Karthus. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. I have a problem with a good Karthus wait and see user. I really do have a problem with it. I mean, they hit faster. They hit more powerful. They have the running attack. They just can spam it and you lose if you have a shield. It's just, I don't know. Even if your spacing's good, their weapon reaches farther. I mean, unless you have a hyper armor weapon and they are aggressive, if they're wait and see and you have a hyper armor weapon, it's tough to hit them. It's one of those. It's just one of those things. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it is just me having an issue with that. But either way, I appreciate every one of your answers. Really do. Thank you. Especially the last one that was really long. Like, I put a lot of thought in it. It was well placed out. I appreciate that. Hope you enjoyed this video. Tell your friends. I really need all your support. Somehow I lost like 5 subscribers yesterday. I don't even have that many to lose 5 subscribers. That was like a decent percentage of my subscribers. Either way, tell anybody you can if you enjoy these videos. If I'm doing a terrible job, tell me what I can improve, okay? Be nice about it. But if I'm doing a great job, tell me that too, and tell your friends. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think, and I will be back.